Here we are in the front room. Of course, we're filming in beautiful Calumet Park on the southeast side of Chicago. The neighborhood here, the community, is called the East Side. I say southeast side because I'm incorporating all of you and Northwest Indiana as well. Right in front of the field house in Calumet Park, which was built in 1924. Beautiful building. You know, as a kid, growing up in the area called Hegewisch on the southeast side of Chicago.
Hegewisch?
We used to hang at the park a lot, and they had a field house. Our field house was quite different. Very nice. Had a gymnasium and swimming pool and all that. There's a certain smell in these buildings, especially these field houses. I don't know if it has something to do with the locker room. It's a nice aroma. It's not like locker room smell, because I don't really care for that. Not being the athal that some of you are, the athletic type. But there is that certain smell right when you walk in, and there's no swimming pool here, I don't believe. So it's not that swimming, you know, when you used to go into, remember the holodomes they had at the Holiday Inns? Those bacteria pools, the indoor. When you walked right into the lobby, I smell pool. All the chlorine, right? Well, it's not really that smell. There's something, maybe it's the whole air of the building, and maybe it's the cleaning solutions they use. Maybe it's part of those little deodorant pucks that they put into the urinals. Maybe all that accumulated creates this wonderful smell that takes you right back to your childhood. But here in the front room, we were on the rocks first, and I wanted to just show you the field house because it's a national landmark. It's really nice. And the nice greenery, I mean, they really keep this park up. I mean, the lawn could use some work. It looks nice and green, a lot of weeds but every park has a lot of weeds. You can't be fertilizing the whole park, I imagine. But still in really, really good shape. And there's some guys out there right now working. You could hear them buzzing and hinging. But the greenery, it's just beautiful. And the potted plants they have here, really doing it up. So in the front room, we're going to be talking about favorite things you did as a kid. One, coming to the park, right? Didn't you always come to the park? Where, you know, I played a lot in the alley. I was an alley type guy. I like to melt stuff, so I used to go out in the alley and I could melt stuff here, and the neighbors won't see me, and you know the neighbors saw you, right? Because now I'm that old guy. I always got my nose out the window. I live on the corner. I go, what are those kids doing out there? They're standing on the corner. Well, loitering was a big part of my childhood in the 70s, and we used to loiter quite often near a school, on the corner, maybe where the cigarette shop was, maybe near the gas station, and or at the park. Field house, too many people around. I remember they had a sun porch where I grew up in Man Park, and the sun porch was the place to loiter. All the teenagers loitered there, smoked cigarettes. I remember it being so cool because I was maybe 8 or 9 and my brother was 16, so he was always smoking cigarettes, and I'd ride up on my bike and go, my brother's name was Larry. I'd go, hey Larry, let me hang get out of here, punk. They didn't want me around because I was a young kid. They wanted to look cool, right, with the cigarettes and all that, and sneaking around that the grown-ups didn't see them, all the way out in the park on the sun porch, which, by the way, in our park, the sun porch is still there, but they rebuilt it. Not quite as nice as it used to be. It used to be a couple steps up off the ground. Now, of course, they simplify everything and just make a slab and put a roof on it. So we missed that. But hanging out in the park was a big, big deal. That's what you did. You loitered. There are many things I like to do. Melting stuff, for one, that was in the alley. Contained that. Batting rocks, that was a good one, too. Usually out by the tracks, because there was all that ballast along the railroad tracks where you could just bring my brother's bat, fling the rock up, and you don't have to shag it. Batting practice. So now, I was just talking about how the greenery was. Look at this. And they're watering the plants right now. Back in my day, what we used to like to do is throw rocks at the street light. Try to break the street light, right? You wanted a little bit of vandalism in your young teenage career. So that's what we did. We tried to break, let's try. And I never did. I didn't have the arm. I was more bad. I was good at batting. The best thing in the wintertime was throwing snowballs at cars. The buses were easy targets, and of course they wouldn't chase you, but guys driving around the neighborhood, if you clipped their car with a nice iced snowball, they'd chase you. They'd go a long chase too. I was pretty swift when I was young. Ring and run was a big one in the neighborhood. Ring the bell and run. And the neighbors had to know. I mean, I surely would know if someone was doing that at my house these days. because I got my eyes peeled. I'm looking out for everything. I'm the neighborhood watch guy. We played a lot on railroad tracks, as I told you, but batting the rocks and all that. And that's what we did. You played on the tracks. Now, I'm not suggesting for you younger folk to go out there and play on the tracks, because I know it's kind of illegal, right? But does it matter? As a kid, there were tracks all over the place. That's what we did. We played on the tracks. This is what you have to watch for trains, though. But that's where all the ballast was. That's where all the rocks were. And the prairies were just off the railroad tracks, so we'd always ride our bikes and our mini bikes, go out to the prairie. That's where all the action was. As a kid, as a teenager, the prairie was where it's at. You had freedom from the grown-ups. You didn't have to worry about the grown-ups. So what was it about the prairie? The one thing I remember about the prairie, well, I don't have any hay fever or anything like that because I was always playing out in the prairie, so we don't have that. I don't have any allergies, never had. The one thing I remember about playing out in the prairie is you'd be playing, right, doing your whole thing, throwing rocks, running, riding the bike, creating dust balls, and then all of a sudden you'd get back on your bike, you'd ride about a block, you'd come back to civilization, and what would happen? You'd feel something on your ankle, and you look down at your slacks, and you look down and you go, oh my Lord. Stickers. Remember those little stickers? You didn't realize you were picking them up as you were running around, playing in the prairie, wafting through all the prairie land, and then you get back and go, oh, then you feel the pain. Then you can't touch them because they're stickers, those little stickers, and they would clump up. There'd be thousands of them. You'd have to get your dad's welding gloves if your father had them, or some sort of work gloves, and try and yank them. But you weren't at home. You had a long drive to get home, right? So you had to try and take off those stickers. Ow, 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 ow. And then they just kept growing. You just like, oh my God, how many stickers did I gather in my romp in the prairie? We had a lot of swamps where I grew up in Hegwish. We'd play at the tanks. There was a creek that was all polluted, bright green foam. We just played in it. We didn't know. We were kids. We had Wolf Lake right there, but the swamps were it. That's where we hung out at the swamps. Because again, no adult supervision. You went out to the swamps, you played, you saw tadpoles, you saw fish. You tried clubbing the fish. You try M80s. You light the M80 with the cigarette. Hold the cigarette, light the M80, throw it in the water because they blew up underwater. The wicks were waxed. Called it M80 fishing. Swamps were integral where I grew up. There were many gatherings along the swamp areas. Played them. That's where kids don't do it these days. They don't understand. They don't explore. We had to explore. We didn't have apps. We didn't have phones. I mean, we had telephones. We didn't have these iPhones and the smart devices and all this. And we always got home. We said, we got to go out. I'll do my homework later. Always out in the swamps. I remember the smell of those summer days when you'd wake up and hot and humid, reeking, because the swamps were right around our house and all the prairies were around our house. And that smell would just come wafting through, and it's playtime. Let's go out. Let's call some friends. You didn't call. Let's go get some friends. You ran across the street. You couldn't call. Mom, can I use the phone? Dad, can I use the phone? No. The phone, they're right across the street. Just go over there and knock on the door. Jimmy, come on out. Let's play. I had a friend who liked to fish. I didn't care for fishing too much. I would go out fishing and I'd end up throwing rocks. That was my big thing, was to throw rocks. That was the whole thing. That was the most exciting thing, is rocks. I was infatuated with rocks. See how far you could throw them. See how good of an arm you had. Didn't help me on the baseball side of things. Hey, you know what time it is now? We have to make a move. We're going to go over to the beach house here at Calumet Park on the southeast side of Chicago. That's right. Let's start a show. TFR on the go here at beautiful Calumet Park on the southeast side of Chicago. area not far from where I grew up, Pegwish, and this is the east side right here. I'm right on the lake, and this is the beach house. And I've only been to the beach house maybe once or twice in my whole life, and that was years and years and years ago. And as I was approaching, I parked in the lot, came up to the beach house. A couple lifeguards are back there. They're jamming on a little bit of jam boxes and all that. But the water is right up against the wall, and as you can see behind us, the water is right up against the beach house, and they have a hot dog stand in there and restrooms, all open too, and very nice. So the water level is high. I heard 5 to 6 feet higher than usual. The dragonflies are out of hand, man. They're going crazy. There's dragonflies. I don't know if there's an infiltration of dragonflies, and I don't mind dragonflies. I don't mind a dragonfly at all. I got hit by a dragonfly once when I had my motorcycle years back. I believe I was living in California at the time. I was driving my sickle down the highway, and at the last minute I heard like a foil thing, and it whacked me about right here. And I was going about 40 miles an hour, and dragonflies, I don't know how fast they go. Maybe dragonflies go how fast? 20 miles an hour. So at a force of 60 miles an hour, I got hit with this dragonfly. But here, Calumet Park, can you believe it? Water level high. I haven't gone in the water. We were out by the rocks earlier, and I welcome you into the front room. I chose today because it's less humid, and I wanted to do a show on the go. So here we are. I wanted to talk about Murphy's Law. This is something that has always intrigued me. And you all know what Murphy's Law is. It's kind of that whole thing, if anything can go wrong, it will go wrong. And where did this come from, Murphy's Law? Is it just something someone dragged out of the sky one day and said, that's Murphy's Law? Actually, there's a little meaning behind it, and I had to Google it. And if you want to Google things, you could Google things behind my garage at home if you know where I live. And I'm not going to tell you where I live, because it's a secret. But many people know. You can find out anything these days if you go online, right? It's just hard to keep secrecy these days. It's all so instant. But Murphy's Law was born at Edwards Air Force Base back in 1949. It was named after Captain Edward A. Murphy. He was an engineer working on an Air Force project, MX-981, a project designed to see how much sudden deceleration a person can stand in a crash. There's also Sod's Law. Have you heard of this one, Sod's Law? I'm not familiar. I never heard of Sod's Law, but I found it in the Google machine, on the Wayback Machine. Sod's Law is similar, but broader than Murphy's Law. Whatever can go wrong will go wrong. Where Murphy's Law, if anything can go wrong, it will. But this is I'm more Sod's Law. Whatever can go wrong will go wrong, and that's been my whole life. I've always thought of things. Sometimes you're working on something and you think, oh God, I'm never going to do it. It's that pessimistic side. I'm going to change this vent in your house. I'm going to change this vent, and you know you can't do it. And you're destined to fail. I've changed that a little bit as I've grown older. I just have the confidence. And now, of course, you could go online and figure out anything. I recall I acquired a safe, an old safe from the late 30s, early 40s. My aunt left it to me. I mean a big safe. It's like one of those old ones where, the gangsters are sanding their fingernails or something, and then, turning the dial. Thing weighed like 50,000 pounds. I had to get 4 guys in a special van to move it, and I still haven't figured out where to put it within the house. It's out in the garage. So I got it home, and I had the combination. So I'm like, it can't be. How hard is a safe? I mean, we had combination locks back in high school. Zip, 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 zip. So I'm doing it, one right, one left, one right, and then you hit it, and then I go to swing the lever, and nothing. And I did this till I was blue in the face, and then I said, damn, I can't do it. So I looked on the safe and got the name of it, and I went on to YouTube, and I typed that name of the safe and the model number, and here's this dude on the YouTube. He says, what you do, you start out, you gotta clear it out, refresh, and then you gotta go to right, and then the left, and the right, and then the left, and when you get to the last number, you'll feel it kind of stop a little. He says, before you pull the lever, continue to the left just a little bit, and it'll go chick. And it did, and then the lever opened. So there you have it. So you could look things up, and you could do things. So if you're pessimistic, have that pessimistic side, and I do, believe me, you could always go to YouTube to help you out and figure things out. Sod's Law, similar but broader than Murphy's Law. That's for me. That's my bag. Yes. Whatever can go wrong will go wrong. Damn it. Yes, it will. I like the name of it too, Sod's Law. What a sod, right? Well, here's one example of Murphy's Law that happens often to me. I'm at home, right? I'm at home all morning. I'm at home. Make coffee, make breakfast. I'm online. I'm working out of my office. I'm editing. I'm doing this piece. I'm doing that piece. And then I go, wow, I had like 7 coffees, and I had a Danish, and I had a bagel. And I go, well, I must use the bathroom. So I said, well, I'm going to go to the bathroom. So I always bring my cell phone to the bathroom just in case someone calls. But we have a house phone at the house. So what happens, I get into the bathroom, I drop my trousers, and as soon as my ass hits the toilet seat, the house phone rings. I mean, it's seconds. It's just, my ass just goes like that. Oh no. Always and always. So that's an example of Murphy's Law. And I found some other ones. Another one too that happens, I'm sure, to you. When you have no time schedule, right? You leave the house and you're just floundering around. You got all day. Everything's just going wonderfully. You drive in, you pull into a parking spot. There's a parking space. You go to the grocery store. The line opens. The parts like the Red Sea. But whenever you're in a bit of a rush, say you fall behind a little bit, you're running behind time. Damn, I gotta make time. There's a train. You get beyond the train. Okay, you go, damn train. Okay, thing stops. Then you turn around. You go, I'm gonna turn around. I know a side street. I'll cut around the train and head it off at the pass. Then you make the turn down the side street. And here comes a moving van backing out of a driveway, and it's blocking the road. And you're like, damn, I know another way. I'll cut left. So you cut left. Cut around this way, and all of a sudden there's a crossing guard, and there's like 10,000 kids on a field trip, and they block the street, and you're like, damn, can I get? Then you get around, and as soon as you get up to the tracks where you're going to cut around, head them off at the pass, the gates come down. Finally the train ends, you're like, damn, that was a long train. Another train the opposite direction. That's happened many times, especially here in the region. Murphy's Law. Why is it sometimes when you're untying your shoes, it knots up? What is that about? Is that Murphy's Law? What? And it's generally when you know, like at a bowling alley. Okay, well, you got to change it. Why do you got to wear bowling shoes? So you untie it, and then you get the knot, and that's the knot from hell. It's the knot you can't get undone. You need like a little needle thing to get it started. That could be Murphy's Law. I have a few examples people have sent me or told me that I jotted down on paper, so I'll share those with you. Murphy's Law. Murphy's Law, yes. Oh, there's the police. Oh, God. See, they're still scaring me. Don't you ever get that feeling whenever you see a cop, like it's something stemming back from when you're a child or in the car, because you know you're doing something bad. When we were teenagers, we were always doing something bad, either smoking weed or drinking, and we were supposed to be driving, or you're drinking in the park and it's illegal, and you see the cop and your stomach drops. I still get that feeling. The cop just drove by right here. Murphy's Law. Some examples, and I'd like to thank some of the folks out there. Billy Schmierka sent this one in. If you find something you like, buy a lifetime supply, because they're going to stop making it. It's true, you never think about it. Now, since I've seen this example, I can relate to it, because there have been projects that I have done at the house. I put in a floor in our dining room, living room area. It's one of these laminate floors, good for 25, 30 years, guaranteed. So nice too, it's nice, it's single slats, it looks like a real wood floor, kind of feels like it. You could clean it with anything. You could use detergents, you could use Top Job, you could use Spick and Span. But the thing that I didn't do was I didn't buy an extra box. So I thought I was having an issue with one piece in the corner. I went back to the store where I bought it. They don't carry it anymore. I say, why would you do that? It's guaranteed for 30 years. And the manufacturer, just say you need a piece. You want an extra piece or you want to add on. Just keep making it. So this time when I redid the kitchen at our crib, we put in a charcoal floor, kind of like a tile thing. And as I was leaving, I said, yes, I have enough. Thank you so much. Here's your receipt. And I was walking out. I said, before I leave, give me 2 extra boxes just in case something happens or I want to do it a little more or add a little piece. So that's one good thing that Billy Schmirka sent us. If you find something you like, buy a lifetime supply because they're going to stop making it. Happens all the time. Murphy's Law. Here's one that happens all the time, and I know it's happened to you. The one wrench or drill bit you need will be missing from the tool chest while you're on the job. Always happens. Every other size in the world. It happened to me with Allen wrenches. I have one of those things that's an Allen wrench. It has every Allen wrench except the one I needed. Murphy's Law, second law for wives. The snapshots you take of your husband are always more flattering than the ones he takes of you. Murphy's Law. Murphy's Law. The cigarette smoke always drifts towards you. Even if you're outside and the wind's blowing east and you're sitting west of the person, for some reason, it drifts towards you. That little draft and that smoke just comes through it and right past you. Murphy's Law. Murphy's Law, and I learned this one when I was a child because I used to take things apart and never be able to put them back together again. Murphy's Law. Anything is easier to take apart than to put it together. Years ago, I used to try and work on my car back in the 70s. You know, there were older cars easier to do, and you'd look up in a manual. You'd go to Wachowski downtown. Is it Wachowski? I think so. Downtown, and you look in the book. I could do that. And then you take it all apart, and you're putting it back together, and you have 2 pieces. What are these? I don't know. Murphy's Law. Here's Ed's 5th rule of procrastination. Spend sufficient time confirming the need, and the need shall disappear. Murphy's Law, and this has happened to you at work. And don't tell me, because I know it happened to me. No one is listening or watching until you make a mistake, until you screw up. You're there working, whatever it is, you're making fidget spinners, and it's going fine. You made 10,000 fidget spinners. All lovely. The line is moving swiftly. One screw up. You mess it up, the line stops, and the boss happens to be looking right at you. Happens every time. Didn't see you do the 10,000 good fidget spinners. Saw you mess up the one. Murphy's Law. Murphy's Law of mechanical repair. After your hands become coated with grease, you have to scratch your nose. Murphy's Law of gravity. Any tool, when dropped, will roll to the least accessible area. You ever get that? I'll be working in the kitchen and drop something. I'm like, where'd it go? And you're looking around. And it, like 40 feet away, underneath the little kick thing, right? Underneath the cabinet, the little kick thing they have. It's always hiding somewhere there. Never just like, oh, here it is. Murphy's Law of random numbers. If you dial the wrong number, you never get a busy signal. Someone always answers. Murphy's Law of alibi. And this one has happened to me. If you tell the boss you're late for work because you had a flat tire, and the very next morning you wake up and you have a flat tire. Murphy's Law of alibi. Here it is again. Murphy's decree of close encounters. The probability of meeting someone you know increases dramatically when you are with someone you don't want to be seen with. Murphy's office law. When you try to prove to someone that a machine won't work, it will. This also applies when you show someone that something on the computer is easy and it doesn't work. Murphy's office law. Murphy's Law of biomechanics. The severity of the itch is inversely proportional to the reach. It's true. You ever find that wall? You look like a mental case, right? Up against the wall, humping. Murphy's Law of theater. At any event, the people whose seats are farthest from the aisle arrive last. It's true. Murphy's Law of physical surfaces. The chances of an open-faced marmalade sandwiches landing face down on a floor covering are directly correlated to the newness and cost of the carpet. The conundrum of logical argument. Anything is possible if you don't know what you are talking about. Murphy's Law. Here's doctor's law. If you don't feel well, make an appointment and go to the doctor. By the time you get there, you'll feel better. Don't make the appointment and you'll stay sick. This happens to me because I do a lot of editing for this radio station, WJLB. A lot of times I'll save bits and pieces, but sometimes I have to clean things out. As soon as I delete something off the computer, the station manager calls me and says, "Do you have this one file back from 7 months ago?" And I just deleted them. Murphy's Law. You've been in the front room here at Calumet Park. A beautiful day, TFR on the go. Yours truly, Rick Kubic. My lovely wife, Cop Marlow, my own personal go. She'll be back. She joins me in Marlow Kubic in the front room. As always, here's just a little solo show. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.